Alright, cannot believe I actually mustered up the courage to want to talk about this. But, to Disney Incorporation, Disney Company, the massive world domination known as Walt Disney World, we need to talk. I mean, we seriously need to talk, okay? So, for those that don't know, I've been kind of out of it for a while now, but for those that don't know, allow me to follow up. So, technically speaking, Disney owns the rights to Marvel, basically the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe. They own pretty much any character that shows up on there. Pretty much about 90%, maybe 95, 99 if you want to be more clairvoyant, of all Marvel characters. In fact, after purchasing Fox and everything like that, they now own the rights to not only the X-Men, but also Deadpool. Let that go through your head right now. But recently there was a big debacle going on involving with Disney and Sony. And what would that be? Spider-Man. Yep, Spider-Man. The good old Spider-Man. Yeah. There was quite a bit of an issue with that, apparently. So, between whatever I've been hearing, I may have missed, like, a couple of margins and stuff. I may have, like, missed, like, a crucial detail. But technically, Disney owned it, a split contract deal between them and Sony when it comes to owning the rights to Spider-Man. So, when it comes down to it, Spider-Man originally was owned by Fox, but now that Disney owns the right to Fox, they now have the rights, well, technically, they had the rights to Spider-Man. So, you would think that they owned Spider-Man completely, right? Well, it turns out that's not entirely 100% true. It turns out Sony also owns a portion of Spider-Man as well. It's hard to say how much in terms Sony owns Spider-Man, but from what I've heard from the grapevine, Disney owns Spider-Man enough to hold him for like a certain amount of movies. As far as what I've heard, it sounds like they only hold the Spider-Man's rights up to 5 films. So in other words, you have Civil War, you have the Spider-Man Homecoming, as well as Far From Home, which is the most recent one, technically speaking. You have the 2 major blockbuster hits, which is Infinity War and Endgame, technically. So that's the 5 movies that Disney had released involving anything directly with Spider-Man. That being said, as to how much Sony owned it before this big debacle happened, it's hard to say how much they did own it. But considering what's been going on recently in the past couple of weeks, since that news had risen up, it turns out that Sony had been planning for a big overhaul with Spider-Man. Number one being that of looking towards the movie side of things. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is considered to be the best picture of that year when it came out. It beat Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet. And, you know, it's funny, too. It's like, technically, there was, like, features of Ralph Breaks the Internet. And it was saying, Academy Award nominee. And it's like, ugh. Disney got a little greedy on that one, didn't they? But it turned it out that Spider-Man Into the Spideyverse took the win, technically. And it was a really good film. In my personal opinion, I really loved it. It's one of the very few Spider-Man films that I enjoyed. Not so much liked or something like that. I enjoyed it, Into the Spider-Verse. That was really good. Supposedly there's word going around that Sony is going to be making a sequel to that. When we will see, or if it still is confirmed, unfortunately right now it is not announced yet. And I say it's mostly because of this recent debacle that's happened that kind of holded the ideal in general of is Sony going to do something like this or not. Because keep in mind, they also own the rights to Venom, which is also part of the Spider-Man universe, technically speaking. So obviously they might actually do something with Venom again. Who's to say though right now? But I do know for a fact, looking towards the video game side of things, that they are more than likely going to make a sequel to Amazing Spider-Man. And the reason why I say that is because recently they also completely purchased for exclusive rights only, Insomniac. Now, what's funny is that a lot of people were confused by this factor, and it's like, wait, Sony is just now owning Insomniac? And really, it is a surprise. But it's not a surprise when you consider the game that Insomniac has made up until this point. It has been mostly third parties. It's just when you think of Insomniac, you think of like Spyro or Ratchet and Clank. So naturally, when you think of that, yeah, it's like, why would you think it's a third party? Those two popular games Insomniac made, they were PlayStation exclusive titles to begin with anyway, right? And you'd be correct. And Spider-Man is exclusive to PlayStation 4. So obviously Sony is making big plans to making probably a sequel, or maybe trying to convince Insomniac to make a sequel involving Spider-Man, in which case Insomniac would be more than willing to try that, especially since now they own the rights for making more Spider-Man content and stuff. But this is where the topic actually starts. This is where the actual topic starts for the situation that I have. And that's with Disney. Now, a lot of people are making fun of Disney for being like giant crybabies and stuff like that, saying that, oh, well, you stole Spider-Man away from us, blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking at the entire subject that people are talking and stuff, and I'm like, are people not realizing how big Disney really is? Let me show you a graphic that someone made. This practically powerful image of Disney Incorporated. It's no longer just Walt Disney or Disney and stuff like that. It is Disney Incorporated. Now, when you look at this graph, what do you see? About everything that they technically own is on there, okay? Disney owns everything. You might as well say they are the Coglomo of the real world, basically. You might as well say that. They own almost everything. This is no doubt. Disney has like a large reputation of movies, shows, theme parks, and stuff of that nature. It makes sense for why they would have so much power thus far. And while people may hate it, there are some people who still enjoy the stuff that Disney makes. So I mean, whether you hate or don't hate, it doesn't really matter. Disney is who they are because of what they have done for the media itself. Is it annoying to some degree? Yes, especially for like us hardcore Disney fans. It's very annoying to see that the icon that originally is the center of Disney is now covered, not surrounded, but covered by everything else. It's kind of stupid, really, what it is. And so it's one of those things where it ticks me off because they've got so many different licenses, they've got so many rights to all of this stuff that it basically blinds them for what they technically have. For example, perfect example actually, might I add, there was an image that was posted on Twitter, and basically it was a SpongeBob episode, you know, where supposedly SpongeBob and Patrick was borrowing a balloon and the balloon popped, and so they were like, oh my gosh, we sold a balloon, blah 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 blah. And so basically SpongeBob and Patrick decide to share a pack of chocolate bars, and Patrick goes, I think I'll eat it right now. I think I'll eat it right now. And he ends up eating his hand, and then he turns and is like, where's my chocolate bar? And he turns and he sees that SpongeBob still has his, and he's like, you stole it! You stole my only source of food! Now I'm gonna starve! And that's basically the image. Is that basically SpongeBob is Sony, they have Spider-Man, and Disney is Patrick. And as disgusting as it is more disgusting when you look at it. It is Patrick, where basically he's Disney. He's like, you stole my only source of income. Now I'm gonna go bankrupt. And on Patrick, you have all of the individual licenses. You have Pixar, you have Lucasfilms, you have Fox, you have ESP News, you have ABC. Did you notice something else was wrong with that disgusting image? If not, let me replace that image with another image that I technically edited in. Notice anything different? Yeah, they forgot the Muppets. And it's easily to be forgotten, actually, in all honesty. The person who edited it in, obviously it makes sense. Disney hardly ever does anything with the Muppets anymore. Slowly but surely, they're not using it. And it kind of ticks me off, because they own the rights to a loved franchise known as the Muppets. But Disney, for some stupid reason, have nothing to use it for. It's like anything that they thought that they could use it for, they don't know how to use it correctly. It's almost as though as if they forgot what made the Muppets so popular. What makes it... Why did they... let's put it this way. Why did you buy the Muppets to begin with? Obviously you saw potential in it, and you hadn't really used it to its full potential, you lazy sack of craps. It's irritating what it is. It disgusts me that they have potential franchises that they have, yet they, instead of using those franchises to the best of their abilities, they blindly buy other stuff only to end up covering up what they technically own already. This includes the Mouse, and this includes the Muppets, and it irritates me. I mean, as a fan of Disney, I would love to see something being used for the Muppets. Technically, they say they are on their Disney Plus app, but who's to say how far that's going to go? Hopefully it does really, really well. If not, we've got some serious talking to do, okay? We've got some serious talking to do on that one. Technically, they even had a pitch ideal in regards to the Muppets, which is technically a sequel to Muppets in Manhattan. Well, apparently that was dropped entirely. Really, Disney? An IP that you rarely use, you decide to drop. It's just... And plus, they don't do anything with Mickey in them. They hardly ever do. If they do, it is very seldom. Now, record, I love the Mickey Mouse cartoons that they have done thus far, which you can see on, like, YouTube, for example. You can see a little bit, I guess, they've uploaded on Disney Channel and stuff. And I'm sure there'll be a small section on the Disney Plus app for you to be able to watch this stuff, hopefully, I hope, the new Mickey Mouse cartoon. But I honestly would love to see a full-length movie film involving Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. I mean, when was the last time this happened? Last I can think of was Mickey Mouse and the Three Musketeers. That was actually really good. I enjoyed that one. And even though it's technically not part of the theoretical movie release, I would classify this as one of the top tier best films that Disney made, technically speaking. I enjoyed it that much. Some apparently didn't really like it as much, but I enjoyed the heck out of it, you know? I want to see more of Mickey, Donald, and Goofy interacting and stuff. I want to see more of it. And the ideal that some people have actually came up with online through Twitter, Facebook, so on and so forth, is unbelievable of the ideal potential that they actually have. But they don't even remotely use it! They only have Mickey Mouse because he's an icon. What? What made him an icon to begin with? Okay, what made Mickey an icon to begin with? Think about it, Disney. Think about this. Really, do think about this. And as a Disney fan, it's annoying to see that such potential stuff that gets thrown out there isn't being used correctly. We're seeing way too much Marvel movies. I practically am burned out from the series. I still need to see Endgame, technically. I have yet to have seen it. But I'm not really in the mood to see it because I'm still burned out from all the superhero movies. And this is rare for me to say this, but I'm kind of getting burned out on Star Wars films. How crazy is that for me to say? Pretty insane. But guess what? That's just how it is. We're getting more Star Wars films. It's so frustrating and annoying. It's not that I'm aggravated at the fact that Disney owns so many IPs. I'm aggravated at the fact that they own so many that they're blinded by what they technically own right now. You know, that's where the frustration comes into play. That's technically where I'm at when it comes to Disney. It's so overcrowded. And Delmar agrees with me. Nerd Thomas agrees with me. Anyone within the community agrees with me whenever I say this. Disney is blinded by what they have, you know? And it's like, the only way they'll know is if we stand up and say something, you know? It's like, do something with the Muppets. Make a movie series involving Mickey in the game. I want something like that, you know? Hell, I'm going to show you a perfect image of what I want to see in the future, okay? It's never going to happen, but I want this so badly. Here it is. Mickey Mouse involving with a steampunk world, okay? This image right here is enough for me to say, this has potential. This is so amazing. I want this. Because think about it, the ideal concept that Disney has had in its history when it comes to customizing and developing future world and stuff like that, and some of the films that they even done, involves, I forgot the guy's name, but the guy who's made these books like 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or Send to the Earth, you know, these type of things where it's kind of like steampunkish and stuff. I forgot the guy's name. I feel like I should know it by now. But either way, that particular work, you know, I would love to see that, because that's kind of where the Disney's Imagineers kind of got most of their inspiration. That's where most of the stories originated from to begin with anyway, you know? Why not do that for Mickey and them, you know? Why not make a movie series out of that, or do something with it? That would be an interesting adventure to see. But they have yet to have done that, you know? It gets so annoying that we don't get to see these potential works not being used correctly. But that's just my thoughts and opinions only alone. I'm sure some of you have different opinions on that agenda. Let me know in the comments below. What do you feel Disney needs to do? What are some of the improvements they have to do, and what they should concentrate on? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. Till then, this is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.